he just has been injured. He hasn't done a lot. And maybe it's just because it's difficult to get excited, and he's had a huge workload. I mean, he's really been, ever since Wall left, all that the team has had. It all has fallen on his shoulders, and now he gets to go to the Phoenix Suns and can be a contender. So maybe, a new scene will help breathe some new light, because we were talking about it. He's really not that old, even though it does seem like he's been in the NBA forever. So I am excited for him. I hope he can stay healthy and contribute. But if you were going to bet on the Phoenix Suns and overreact to this trade, I mean, you missed it. You should have bet on them earlier when we knew this was a possibility. For me, from a betting perspective, I have zero interest in plus 650 or whatever the number or consensus is right now on the Suns. Like, I would wait. Surely, I mean, we haven't even had the NBA draft yet. Other things are going to happen. I just think it's not worth it right now. And maybe you can even get a better number. I mean, there was even like an overreaction when Kevin Durant went there. So I think there's still time to see how this team looks on the court, see what other teams are going to be doing. I have no interest in betting this right now on the Suns.
To me, Aaron, now that it's moved to plus 650, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would have, had it stayed at 7-1 or maybe gotten longer, because maybe it wasn't a trade that behooved the Suns as much as perhaps some would claim, then I think it would have been okay to pounce on it. But now I don't like the value here, in large part because I'm not exactly sure what Bradley Beal is supposed to do to help the Suns. Think about all the things that Phoenix needed to do to become a real contender and knock off the Nuggets in the Western Conference. They needed depth, right? It can't just be about Durant and Booker. And that didn't happen. You're not adding depth with Bradley Beal. You needed to work on defense a little bit. Well, I don't know if Bradley Beal is the best defender in terms of, solidifying your defense. Chris Paul was a bit of a problem. Now you don't have to worry about that anymore, I guess. But turning Deandre Ayton into a physical force, is that going to happen with Bradley Beal? I'm not sure. That's going to be more of a coaching thing. But I wonder if, say, you needed some depth there. Just so that, you can have a more powerful, impactful front court. And I'm not sure Bradley Beal is going to help with that. And so in terms of all the things that we can point to as to why the Suns are not quite contenders, I don't know if Bradley Beal addresses any of those things. What are the Suns supposed to do with DeAndre Ayton? Because if you are getting rid of Chris Paul and picks, then you are limiting the options that you have with him if you want to move him. And if the idea is, okay, under new head coach Frank Vogel, we can turn Ayton into a more aggressive big the way he was supposed to be. But if that doesn't happen, then you've got a big contract that isn't panning out, right?
Yeah, it's just a mess right now. They could try and move Ayton and get some more assets back for him and build up their bench in that way and add depth that way. But then does that kind of negate bringing in Frank Vogel, who's supposed to be this great coach in developing bigs? And the Ayton thing is so interesting to me. I lived in Phoenix 2 years ago, went to a ton of Suns games. And so, being just a little bit more up close in watching these guys, Ayton decides when he wants to play. He's a fantastic player when he wants to play. And I'm not sure, like, bringing in a big man's coach is necessarily going to all of a sudden fix Ayton's problems, because Ayton's problems is his effort. Like, when he wants to play and tries, he's a really good basketball player. It's just, does he really want to do that, He loves the national TV games. He loves the big time matchups. But if the Suns are playing someone like the Wizards, he's not going to try. Like, those are kind of the things here. So I would be all in favor of them moving him and trying to, get someone back, maybe like even like a Christian Wood, who's not not an all-star big, but someone who can be serviceable. And then you also get a couple pieces back, maybe that helps you build out some of that depth in the bench, which is a concern because you also just let Landry Shamet go. You traded him to the Wizards, and Landry Shamet was one of your bench players that came in, could hit a bunch of threes, spread the floor a little. I mean, he was terrible on the defensive end, but he was one of your additional scorers off the bench where is that production going to come from? So couple different ways you could do this Ayton thing, but I think the best thing is just to move him, honestly.
Odds have shortened on BetMGM. Last I checked for the Reds, they're 4-1 to win the division. Boy, that seems like a mighty low number. It really does. And to me, I'm not comfortable with that. Meanwhile, the Pirates had a really bad weekend going up against the Brewers. And so now the Pirates have dropped to plus 650 to win the Central. Brewers are, of course, leading the way at plus 110. One of the things that I did when thinking about these streaky ball clubs, whether you're talking about the Reds or the Giants or the Cubs, is this idea of third order wins. So what the heck is a third order win? Well, we know about what Pythagorean record is, right? So runs scored, runs allowed, and this is the record you should have based upon runs scored and runs allowed. And anytime there's a massive difference between your actual record and your expected record, then that may be a place where you say, all right, well, maybe they'll fall back down to reality, or maybe they'll start to get lucky again and they'll have some wins come their way. It's one of the reasons why a lot of folks are not trusting the Miami Marlins, because their run differential is terrible, but they're 10 games over 500 right now. But when you look at third order wins, it's not just runs scored, runs allowed. It's not just who you've played, but it's also the quality of your opponents. And so how well are your opponents hitting? How well are they pitching when you face them? And third order wins include all of that information. And then you get a better idea of which records are genuine and which ones are fraudulent. And when you look at the order of third order wins for the National League Central, the Reds are in last place. They have not played up to the quality of competition that you would expect from a team that has won 8 straight. They've faced teams at a good time for them. And, the call-ups help and all of that. But their third order win record is 31-40, 32-40, something like that. And they're trailing everybody in the division. But guess who's number 1? It's the Cubs, another ball club that has looked a little streaky as of late. And so to me, even though those odds are mighty similar, 4-1 versus plus 425 to win the division at BetMGM, those third order wins would suggest that the Cubs are perhaps a better value play right now, Aaron.